Hello and welcome back to Stationeers. I'm Mick and today we're doing some more Stationeers science. Now today I'm going to have another look at active vents. I did vents on the last video there, but there's a couple of extra features here which on the active vents which, well, I didn't know about. Other people may have known about it, but I didn't, so there's probably another lot of people out there as well who didn't know about it either. But these ones are more than just vents for pumping in and out. They actually have pressure sensors built into them, and they are pressure regulators. They will work as a pressure regulator. So one of these, a back pressure regulator or a pressure regulator, they will work the same as them, except it's not an inline pipe. It is actually an interface between a pipe and an atmosphere, which makes them extremely handy for regulating the pressure in a room. So if we look at our logic tablet here, device configuration I think we call it, we'll find it does have a couple of measurements on there called pressure external and pressure internal. They are the pressure settings they have for the external is what's in the room outside of the vent, and the internal is what's in the pipe. Right, so for a long time to maintain the pressure in a room, I used to use just some volume pumps to pump in gases to a preset mix, and to prevent the overpressure I just use a back pressure regulator hooked up to a passive vent, which will do the trick. I can just easily set the pressure I want on here and then switch it on and walk away. But the vent is much faster on the interface between the room and the pipe. So this one, once again, it is an inline one. It is good for regulating pressure in pipes, but when it is drawing from a vent, it is then relying on the passive recharge between the room and the vent to actually get more gas into the vent before it can pull it out. So it is slowed down on that. So we do find that the difference in speed, although this one has a dial on it and it's easy to set, the difference in speed is quite substantial. So if I close up these vents here, we can see that they are both at the same pressure, and this one is just measuring the speed at which they remove how many moles it moves per game tick. So we switch it on, and we find that the vent is pulling out 36 moles per tick and is going down very quickly, whereas the back pressure regulator is going down at 4.5. So it's already done. It's already emptied one of them. But the other one is very slowly ticking down. We'll get there eventually. So once again, you're trading off having the dial on it, making it easy to use versus the speed of the other one. Now that's the way I used to do it, was with a back pressure regulator. Now that I've figured out that vents can do this, I'll go with the vent every single time. Now you can use it straight out of the box as it is, or you can use it in conjunction with an air control card. Now the air control card is something I don't see many people use because it's not the most versatile, and I think some of the features in it just haven't been implemented as yet. But to use it, you need a gas sensor, you will need a couple of vents, have an inward and outward, vents 1 and 2. The red one is vent 3, I don't need that one, I've just got hooked up to do other things at the moment. Pull it out and it gives us a nice little display there. Now the pressure in the room from the sensor is 98 kilopascals, which is quite happy. We get a green light there. Now the red vent I've got hooked up to sensors there, so if I switch that on, suck it out, it's now giving me a warning of low pressure, low oxygen and death. So it does work as a handy little one there. The panic pressurise and depressurise buttons, I haven't quite figured them out. I believe they don't actually do anything at the moment, but if anybody's figured it out, drop a comment and let us know. Right, so that is in its offline mode. It'll do nothing, but with the two vents there, I can switch it to pressurised mode. As soon as I switch it to that, they switch on and it'll pressurise it up to 1 atmosphere. So again, if I switch the vent on, try and suck it out, no, it's going to fight and it'll keep the room pressurised. So just same because I'm on Lulan as well, it will also depressurise the room. So Lulan is 160 kilopascals normally. If I pull out the window, it gets overpressurised and the vents automatically pull it back to 1 megapascal. The air control card also has another mode, which is your draft mode. This will set one vent to slightly below 1 megapascal, 1 atmosphere, and the other one slightly above 1 atmosphere. So it'll continually circulate gas through the room. So if you have a filtered supply and you've got an outlet on the other side that you want to get rid of whatever pollutants or whatever you got in the room there, it'll just continually circulate the atmosphere in the room. That can be handy if you're using spray paints or whatever in your room there and there's getting some pollutants and stuff in there that you don't want. But I typically don't run my bases at 1 atmosphere, so that's something I really don't use. That's nice, but no, sorry, that one goes in the bin for me. I generally end up programming them myself. Now, we've got one set up here for our next experiment. You can see just got some code there to read the internal and external pressure settings from the vent. I have a pipe sensor to measure the pressure internal and pressure sensor in the room. Now we can see it is currently set to inward. So the internal pressure, the pressure in the pipe is 50 megapascals. So it's set to inflate that pipe up to the breaking pressure, but go no further. The external pressure, the pressure in the room, will pump down to a vacuum. Now, we can set that just with a logic writer and a logic memory. So I have that set up to write to the active vent the pressure internal. And it is currently set to a number. Try that one, 200. Right, so if I get rid of that stuff, switch it on, now our internal pressure is set to 200. Right, so now it is going to function until the internal pressure reaches 200 or the external pressure reaches 0. As we're almost at 200 internal pressure, I'm guessing that's what's going to happen first. So we switch it on, pressure in the pipe gets to 200, it all just stops. So that's a handy way of if you don't want to overload if you've got a gas collection and reclamation system on there and you don't want to overpressurize it, that's a good way to make sure it doesn't overpressurize. Just set your vents to whatever you want. I typically set them to about 20 megapascals. Set them to much more than that, the pipes start making horrible noises. But so that's there. Now the trick you have to watch with this is if we set it to 200 0, if I change it, the mode of it, to an internal to an outwards, it's now cleared those values there. So if I switch it back to where it was, that pressure's gone. Right, so now we've reset our value back to the 50 megapascals or 0. So if I switch it back on again, it should empty that room before it reaches 50 megapascals in the pipe. And there it is. It's done. It's reached one of the conditions it required to shut off, and it has done so. I can switch that off now. And once again, our internal pressure there, it will inflate until the pipe reaches 0, well duh, or until you've got 1 megapascal in the room. Now if I switch it on, not a megapascal, and that 1 atmosphere. And there it is, 1 atmosphere, it's stopped. It's still switched on, it's still functional, but it's just stopped. Now I can set that to whatever I want. By just setting the internal pressure with the logic writer, I can have my base running at whatever I want. So if I don't want to run it at 1 atmosphere, I can just set it myself using the logic chips and it'll maintain pressure at that. Yeah, so you can actually build, depending on where you are, I mean you can go to Mars and you can make a fully climate controlled greenhouse just using vents, which we might go and do now. So here we are on Mars, we're just getting set up. We've got our basic airlock set up and building ourselves a little glass room here for our greenhouse. Now, all we're going to need to actually make this fully climate controlled and automated is 2 active vents, 2 passive vents, 2 lengths of pipe, 1 sensor, 1 logic processor, 1 logic memory, and 2 I/O chips, and some cables of course. That's all we're going to need, and it will be fully temperature and pressure controlled. So how do we go about this? Well, first up, we're going to need to have some pressure regulation. So we're going to have to get some pressure in here, because at 2 kilopascals it is not enough to grow anything. So I'll put an active vent. I'll put the active vent on the outside because it will operate a lot quicker if it's drawing from the outside through the pipe and releasing to a passive vent on the inside. So of course our length of pipe and our passive vent on the inside. That's it. If I set it to inward, that will now suck in from outside and pressurise our base. Now once again, it's best to do it during the daytime when it's a bit warmer. And of course that'll bring gas in. We also need to get rid of our gas. We'll do it over the other side of the room, so we'd want the same. It'll be quicker to bring the gas from inside the room, even though it's at a higher pressure. It's a lot easier to do the intake rather than put it on the blowout side of things. So that's it. I'll need some cables on this one or it's not going to work very far. Oops, put you around that way. Boom, done. Now I think I have some glass. Right, good. Let's finish closing up this room. Now we are all airlocked up, we're good. Now we're sealed. So now I shall need, of course I can't switch on that vent from outside, so I might just hook up one of my logic chips. We'll put in a switch. There we go. Now I can just hook that up. Right, so she'll name them the outside vent and the inside vent, I guess. Put a lot of thought into those names. Right, we can close up. We should be sealed. Now I can take my vent here and I can set that to the outside vent. There it is. We shall set it to the on and give it power. Switch it on. Right. We are now pressurising. That's going up reasonably quickly. Now if we had that vent on the inside, it would be taking ages to do that. And also bring your oxygen bottle in here and release a heap of that if you want to be able to breathe in here as well. But we just need it there for the CO2 for the plants. There's a bit of nitrogen, a bit of oxygen, a bit of pollutant, but not enough to worry about. That's the thing about the Martian atmosphere. It is good for growing plants straight out of the packet. So we're all good. I'll just let that fill up and we can do a bit more. Now because I have this set on the outside, it will try and blow into that pipe until it reaches 50 megapascals. So that'll be the pressure in here because the pipe is venting straight to the room, so it won't stop at 100 kilopascals set up like this. So yeah, just be a bit careful on that one. It'll work faster this way, but yeah, you've got to be careful. Now we'll switch it off. We have got to, yep, that'll do us. Now of course as it heats up in here, we're now a bit too cold. I left it a bit too late in the day. We're a bit too cold in here now, so we can chuck down some flares. Of course as it warms up in here, the pressure will rise. We don't want any heat in here to actually over pressurize the place, so we need to set up our outward vent as well. So you're done. So now we want to be able to write. Currently that is set to 0. If we set that to inward, it is set to 0. So it will just suck everything out of this room that we've just put in here. So I will take my logic writer and my memory chip. We shall set the memory to 50 because that's the pressure we're going to use in here at the moment. Where's my... Oh, there it is. So I can set you to 50 and cable him up. Right. Now, I grab you in from the logic memory out to the inside vent. It will be the pressure external, which is the pressure outside of the vent, not outside of the room. It's outside of the vents. That's the pressure that's in here. So I shall set that, and it should be set now. It is pressure external set to 50. Now, I should be able to just switch that on now, and the pressure in here will drop to 50 kilopascals and no further. And if I stand right on top of it, it should be down to 50 kilopascals. There you go. So the room is still venting stuff from the other side of the room, but it is stopping at 50 kilopascals, so it will stay there no matter what we do. As the room heats up, the gas will expand, and that will get rid of all the extra gas. So, good-o. Now, we don't actually need that there anymore. It has done its job. This will keep it setting there, not a problem. So we can pull those out and we can reuse them. We'll be super stingy. Right, now I can grab them back. Now, as we use our greenhouse, the temperature in here will go up. Where all the plants emit heat, any appliances we have in here will emit heat, and eventually the place will overheat. So you can put in some coolers or whatever you want in here, or you can just suck in a bit more gas from outside, and that will be cool enough to actually keep the temperature regulated. So for that we just need a temperature regulation circuit. Now we've done plenty of them before, so I think we can manage that one pretty easily. So for our temperature regulation, we shall need a temperature sensor. We shall need a logic reader to read that temperature sensor. We shall need a logic comparator, logic compare, to compare that temperature to a setting that we have. We will give it, and then a writer to write that back as to whether or not we want to switch on the external vent. Right, so we shall hook them up. So just want you hooked into there, you go into there, you go into the other side, you will go into there, and we need power for everything. Power for you, and power for you. And we're all good. You're not needed there. Quick OCD fix, good-o. And yeah, to show my OCD, I just chuck everything in a pile. Now, so on this one, we are now... you're still making noise. Be quiet. Now, I did throw my screwdriver away, didn't I? Untidy. Untidy people. Oh, there it is. Found it, no panic. Now, so we want in from the gas sensor. It's the only thing attached. Not much we can do about that one, so that makes it easy. We are looking for the temperature. Switch it on. That's right. We'll compare that to the logic reader. It's the only one connected. It's our only option to the logic memory. So we want it to come on when it's say 27. Try that one. 27, which is a nice round 300. Right. So when it is greater than the logic memory, we'll switch that on, which it's not at the moment, so it does nothing. So now our logic writer, so we shall write from the logic compare, it's the only thing connected, out goes to the outside vent, and it will switch it on if required, which is off. Right, so our temperature in here is currently 14 degrees, so let's just test it. We shall change that down to, say, 283, that'll be 10 degrees, confirm. It's now switched on. It's now sucking in more gas to cool the place down, which we don't want it to do because it's very cold outside. Put that back to 300, 27 degrees, and switches off again. So there you have it. We are set to grow as soon as I heat it up, because I've cooled it down now with my testing of it. Once it's above 15 degrees, I can plant stuff. This will run at 100 watts. It'll make sure we don't over pressurize as the place heats up. The logic will keep an eye on the temperature. It'll bring in more gas from outside once it gets too hot, and the pressure regulated, temperature regulated, just using 2 vents. There's no coolers, no heaters, a couple of bits of logic, and that's it. I can walk away from this greenhouse and be comfortable that it will always be safe for my plants, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. There's nothing high tech there. It is all straight out of your basic printers. I don't need any upgrades. Easy stuff. That's about all we've got time for today, so till next time, happy building. See ya.